Happy Freezing. Welcome to another great episode of Sounds Like Texas. Yes, I'm in my snow gear. Yes, I have a snowball. And yes, I'm in Texas. If you can believe it, we got a holiday miracle. It's snowing on Galveston Island. All right, the truth of the matter is it's not. It's just fake snow. It's going to melt in like an hour, and I'm already standing in puddles. But it's here for Dickens on the Strand, taking us back to Victorian-era Christmas, and I cannot begin to tell you how great this show is going to be. The most amazing handbell show. Charles Dickens' great-great-grandson, he's here, and we're going to talk to him, and he's even going to perform part of A Christmas Carol for us. The ghost of Jacob Marley is here. It just goes on and on. So stay tuned for more Sounds Like Texas. I'm going to go play in the snow.
Hey, it sounds like Texas. It makes you feel alive. To the fair we go. Come join the fun tonight. Howdy and welcome to Sounds Like Texas. Fairs, festivals, small towns, and sounds of the South. Each week we invite you to join us on a new venture as we roll across Texas. So sit back, kick your boots off, and let's go to the fair.
Good people gathered here this day, I bid you all welcome to the 31st Dickens on the Strand Festival. God bless the United States of America.
Very nice. And I'm here with Queen Victoria.
Delighted to have you here.
I'm so honored to be in your presence.
Well, it's my pleasure, dear. We are having a wonderful time down here in Galveston.
I understand you're having a knighting ceremony today.
Yes, we will have a knighting ceremony at 11 in the morning. I will be knighting 4 gentlemen, and another gentleman will be, who is a knight already, will be receiving the Royal Albert Medal for his bravery in an assassination attempt against Her Majesty the Queen.
How long have you been playing Queen Victoria?
This is my 11th year.
This is very exciting. You're amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Very authentic.
I do a lot of research. This is an exact replica of the Order of the Garter, which is the highest order given in the British Empire. Only the Queen, the Prince of Wales, and 26 knights may wear it. I also have what we call the Lesser George. So this is in connection with the Order of the Garter medal, because you can see it's the Royal Cross of St. George. Yes, and I do a great deal of research about Victoria. And I know quite a bit. Yes, the 9 children.
9?
9. She had 9 children.
Busy woman.
Yes. Yes, 9 children. And a lot of people think she was rather pompous and dull, but no. I have read her journals where she has written down, oh yes, she writes down her own private thoughts. And I remember in one of her journals, she wrote about her wedding day.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh, well, let's see. She wrote about that Albert was so beautiful and that his lips were so soft and tender and so handsome, and his beautiful mustache. She was very much in love with him.
Wow, she was more than smitten.
Oh, yes, she was more than smitten. She was divinely in love.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Lovely.
That's beautiful. How do you choose who you're going to knight each year? How does that work?
Well, we have several gentlemen who have been doing a great deal of service. For instance, Mr. Podmore will be receiving his knighthood and will become the Royal Town Crier. The other gentleman, Mr. Shim, who's given a great deal of service to Her Majesty the Queen on a personal basis and taken good care of her ladies-in-waiting. He's receiving a knighthood. Her Majesty knights people for their dedication to the historical foundation and to her own personal entourage.
Now, speaking of your own personal entourage,
yes,
we have people that have actually come from Canada.
That's correct. This is this is Sir George. He's also known as Captain George. He's a Royal Marine. He arrives every year from Victoria, British Columbia to escort Her Majesty the Queen.
That's very nice.
Yes.
And how did you get involved? You actually, this is your real uniform.
This is my real uniform, yes. I'm the official greeter of British Columbia.
In real true life?
In true life, yes.
So you wear this every day?
Every day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
And I greet all the tourists.
And you come as well?
Yes, I come from Sydney by the Sea, which is also near Victoria, Vancouver Island, Canada, and I'm their official town crier.
And this is also your daily uniform?
Absolutely.
Her Majesty, of course, I mentioned the assassination.
Yes.
Her Majesty has her own personal guards who are the Beefeaters. Actually, the correct name is Yeomen of the Guard. They got the name Beefeaters because as Her Majesty's special guards, they receive the finest of food. And
I see.
Everything.
Consequently, they get beef.
They got lots of beef and were well taken care of.
Well, they needed to be.
Yes, they did.
Well, Queen Victoria, thank you for your time and trouble.
My pleasure.
It's a rare occasion to see the Grand Alyssa with her sails fully open. We'll have more about her later in the show, but when we come back, we'll talk to the ghost of Jacob Marley.
Welcome back to Sounds Like Texas. We are in Galveston, on the island as everybody calls it, at DickensOnTheStrand for a holiday. And I have found the ghost of Jacob Marley. If you know anything about A Christmas Carol, you know this is a very, very important character. So you've been dead for a while.
I've been dead 14 years out of 15 here at Dickens-on-the-Strand.
Not too shabby.
And permutations of Bob Marley, not. It's always Jacob, but that's the #1 catch-all is Bob Marley.
Did I call you Bob?
No, you didn't.
Oh my gosh, I was about to say, I think that I know the difference.
You did a splendid job. Now I don't have to haunt you.
There you go. I can sleep at night.
Yes.
How long does it take you to do your makeup?
It takes about an hour. And the first time I do it after a year, I grit my teeth quite a bit.
Yeah?
But after a while, you know, it's very natural. I could help you out quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you so much. You could help me look like the living dead. What is this?
Well, it's latex.
Ew, it's creepy.
Oh, it's creepy. Good, good. That's the idea.
Good job.
It glows in the dark.
It glows in the dark.
Yes.
What's your real name?
Lawrence Wesson.
Lawrence Wesson. Now, what got you into doing this?
I was in a play at Zachary Scott Theater at
Austin.
In Austin, yes. I was a school teacher in Austin. I went to UT Austin. Look what the students did to me. And I like the character of Marley. And so eventually I asked my girlfriend if I could do Marley, and she said, "Oh, you'll be dead. You won't be any fun whatsoever. The Alyssa will use you as a ship's anchor." So she was right. I was not as much fun, but Marley lived on.
Walking around Dickens-on-the-Strand, you'll see everyone is dressed in authentic Victorian clothing, and this is where we get it.
I'm now here with Peggy Wardell. She actually made this amazing hat. And you make a lot of the costumes for Dickens-on-the-Strand.
Yes, ma'am.
Your store is
Peggy's Victorian Corner.
Now your dress, for instance, is a very good explanation, or that's not even the right
This is
word.
my version of the 1880s bustle dress.
Okay, now bustle dresses it was just the fashion.
The fashion. It was the fashion in the 1870s, and in the 1870s the skirts were larger at the bottom. You had to wear more under it. Then in the 1880s, well, they went out, and then they came back in the 80s, and then they were slimmer. And I personally like that better, so I do more of those.
Here it Sounds Like Texas, history is definitely something we love and adore. So how about with the background of the Grand Alyssa, we find out the history of Dickens-on-the-Strand.
I'm here with Marsh Davis. He's the executive director of the Historical Foundation, yes?
That's right. Galveston Historical Foundation.
Now, Marsh, how did you get involved with the Historical Foundation?
Well, I worked in historic preservation, most of my working years. I studied historic preservation in college, and so I've been here about 2.5 years in Galveston, and it's a great place to work. It's one of the oldest historic preservation organizations in the country, and certainly one of the biggest.
Amazing history.
Yes.
How did Dickens-on-the-Strand come about? It was to save the Strand, wasn't it?
That's right. It was 31 years ago. The Strand was not like you see it today. It was largely derelict. The buildings were in bad condition. Weeds were growing in the streets. Very little commerce going on downtown. And a group of people from the Historical Foundation came up with this idea of bringing people to the Strand at night, and they seized upon the Victorian theme, Charles Dickens' The Strand with its counterpart in London, so it all fell together and became the theme of the evening, and it was a lantern-lit evening of authentic English foods and ales, and it grew from that through the years into the massive festival that it is today. But in the process, the Strand has really come about economically and architecturally. So much has been preserved. It's now a National Historic Landmark, and it's one of the major tourism destinations for this part of the state. Dickens on the Strand Festival is always the first full weekend in December. And we have a lot of activities on the Friday before. Last night we had handbell concerts, and we had the Dickens Feast where Mark Charles Dickens reads A Christmas Carol. It's a beautiful event.
I'm here with Cheryl Thrift. Now, the wonderful thing about Cheryl is that she's not only a costume winner, but she's a costume maker, an authentic costume maker. Doesn't use zippers, uses actual bones in your corsets, and you have your daughters in your outfits as well. Oh, these are friends. Friends, daughter. All right, so who is who, and explain the outfits.
Okay, this is my daughter, Candace, and she's wearing an 1872 vest mask, and it's got boning in it. It's a full bustle in the back. It's got a apron that's draped, a long draped overskirt in red velvet with gold trim. This was my first dress that I made. This is an 1850 ball gown made with brocade.
Cheryl won Best Victorian Lady at Dickens on the Strand in 2003, the first time in 13 years of making her authentic costumes. Now that we've talked about some of the sights on Dickens on the Strand, how about some of the sound? You can find carolers on almost every street corner. And here's some that we found. Actually, they're my favorites.
Pleased as man with men to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Hail the herald Prince of Peace.
When we come back, we'll visit the Texas Maritime Museum and find out a little more history, not only on the Alyssa, but the Santa Maria as well.
But he waves his glory high.
Welcome back to Sounds Like Texas. Once again, we're in Galveston at the amazing Dickens on the Strand. It is so beautiful. I'm speaking quietly because we are in the Texas Maritime Museum. Is that correct?
That's correct.
This is Kurt Voss. You're the director of the Texas Maritime Museum. And of course, this includes the Grand Alyssa.
Yes, it does.
Which we will talk more about later. You are going to tell me about the Santa Maria.
We have some objects behind us here that were original to our 1937 shrimp boat, the Santa Maria. She was built in Biloxi, Mississippi for the Grasso interest. They had a large seafood business here in Galveston. 1952, she was sold to a man named Joe Grillo, who bought the boat when he was 18 years old. He owned her until July a year ago, and he was wanting to retire. We were looking for a shrimp boat to save. The boat was in extraordinary condition. It was one of those happy circumstances. We have acquired the boat, and we keep her operational, and she's a living, working exhibit down at Pier 19, the Mosquito Fleet, which has been her home ever since 1937.
Now, what about the Alyssa? People can go on the Alyssa, can't they?
Well, not for paying passengers. We're allowed to get her underway usually a couple of times a year under special circumstances with the Coast Guard, and they're invited guests of the foundations. A lot of volunteers, a lot of people who have done us some sort of favor, and it's our way of returning that favor.
Maybe a host of Sounds Like Texas?
You bet, and we definitely take media. We're very proud of Alyssa. She's one of the most rare things in the world, and we always look at the opportunity to make people more aware of her.
She's just beautiful. Anytime you have the opportunity to see a tall ship with her sails open, it's very rare.
Every night at Dickens on the Strand, they have the traditional lantern light parade. And then after the parade, you can go have dinner with Charles Dickens, Mark Charles Dickens.
Good humour was restored directly. For they said it was a shame to quarrel on Christmas Day. And so it was. God love it.
Welcome back to Sounds Like Texas. Once again, I'm Lori Fries, and we are in Galveston at Dickens on the Strand. And this is the
Two greats.
great-great-grandson of the namesake, Dickens, Charles Dickens.
That's correct.
And you would be Mark Charles Dickens.
I would indeed, yes.
So is it true all the men in your family have the middle name Charles?
Yes, we do. It's a very nice tradition, and I'm very pleased that with my own 3 sons, they all also have Charles in the middle of the name, yeah.
That's beautiful. And now, okay, Charles Dickens had 10 children.
He did, yes.
So...
But not all of them had their own children. I mean, in fact, some of them died young, and a lot of them never married. In fact, only 2 of his children have carried on with descendants alive today.
I would fully expect it to be much more prolific than that. I didn't realize that.
Well, it's just the way it was in those days, I think.
Sure.
I think some of his children never really made very much of their lives. They lived off his fame and his running, rather than sort of developing their own careers.
Now, the way he got started reading his own stories was people kept asking him to, and he finally did his own very first dramatic reading. And the first time he got paid for one was A Christmas Carol.
I do know that it was the very first story that he did read aloud, and he read the entire book. And apparently it took 3 hours to read it through.
It took a long time, yes.
And I think he learnt the lesson, and he cut it short a bit after that. But it was, there's no doubt about it, the most popular book that he wrote and the people liked, and he preferred it amongst all others.
And how did they find you to do this?
Well, I was living in Washington at the time. I was on exchange with the American Navy, and they rang me up out of the blue and said, come to Texas.
Wow.
And they said, well, we have this festival. It's about Charles Dickens. Texas? They said, well, we wear Victorian costumes. I said, Texas?
Once again, I reiterate my previous statement, Texas.
And it was, so I had to come to find out.
Sure.
Didn't I? And there's no doubt about it. It is absolutely perfect. If anybody has never been to Dickens on the Strand, they have got to come. It is the most wonderful experience. And you see the whole place transformed into Victorian London, with everyone having such a good time.
While you were being brought up, is this something that was instilled in you, a very proud part of your family history, or was it kept quiet until you were older and then they told you?
Well, it's something that dawns on you, really. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Charles Dickens was a genius. He was a very, very famous man, and everyone has heard of him. And to be related to him is an enormous honour. But it's something that's very odd, really, because it's not us. We all have our own lives to lead, and it's very important that we do. And you don't want your children, and I certainly was the same, to sort of feel that it's something special.
Privilege just because.
No, you have to live your own life, and in fact, I used to get teased rather a lot at school, and so you learn to sort of play it down, really, until you have a wonderful occasion like this when you can help other people.
Well, that's another episode of Sounds Like Texas. Thank you so much to our incredible host, Molly Dannenmeyer, the Galveston Historical Society, and everyone at Dickens on the Strand, including Mark Charles Dickens. So as we close, we'll leave you with the traditional sounds of holiday.
Rejoices, for
Transportation provided by Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines, the official airlines for Sounds Like Texas.